Detective Recapped here. Today, I'm going to explain a crime thriller film called Léon, the Professional. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. In a restaurant in Little Italy, two men discuss a target. The man smoking a cigarette laid down a photo of the man he wants dead along with the details on when he'll be in the city. The other one, clad in black and wearing circular sunglasses, says he'll take care of it. He finishes his glass of milk and leaves the restaurant. In a hotel lobby, Mr. Jones walks up to the elevator with a dozen or so bodyguards covering him. He gets to the hotel room and meets with a woman. Moments later, Mr. Jones receives a call from one of his men in the lobby. The man in black holds a gun to his face. He shoots him, alerting Mr. Jones over the phone with the sound of a gunshot. He calls up his men and tells them to get ready. The men take their positions and begin to wait on the elevator as it goes up the building. The elevator doors open and Jones's men start unloading on the figure that appeared. After the haze of bullets and gun smoke had dissipated, they realized they were just shooting at the corpse of one of their men. Jones's men retreat from the door and make preparations to escape. One of his men investigates the elevator but he finds nothing there. When he heard the sound of gunshots going off, he moves to the staircase. As he leaned forward on the rails, the man in black suddenly pulls on his tie, then tosses him over and he plummets to his death. The entire struggle was witnessed by another one of Jones's men through the security cameras and he starts searching for the assassin. Just then, a hatch from the ceiling pops open and a noose comes down to strangle the man to death. Meanwhile, Mr. Jones tries to make his escape. With only 3 men left, he orders them to check the terrace. They follow his orders, leaving Mr. Jones inside. Suddenly, a metal door drops down at the terrace entrance. Mr. Jones starts feeling terrified for his life, even more so when he hears gunshots from the terrace. Mr. Jones retreats further in the rooms to take more guns and a telephone. Desperate, Mr. Jones calls the police and backs up into a closet. From the shadows, Léon the assassin appears with a knife pointed at Mr. Jones's throat. Even with a police officer on the line, Mr. Jones is forced to hang the phone up. Léon pulls out a piece of paper and instructs Mr. Jones to dial the number written on it. When he does, a man tells him to stay off their territory and never come back. He reminds Léon to make sure that Jones understands before letting him go. Léon leaves and Jones lives another day. Before going home, Léon drops by at the store and buys 2 cartons of milk. On his way up the stairs, he sees a 12-year-old girl smoking a cigarette. Léon asks about the bruise on her cheek and she makes up an excuse about falling off her bike. As Léon goes inside, 3 men walk out of the girl's apartment door. Stan, the ringleader, faces the end of the hallway, listening to music while the others talk with the girl's father. They mention a 10% discrepancy in the batch of drugs which the girl's father denies having any knowledge over. One of the men says that Stan doesn't like being disturbed while listening to music but he'll have to disturb him if he doesn't tell the truth. Still, the father insists that he didn't take it, causing Stan to be interrupted. The boss looks over, glaring menacingly at the father. He bizarrely approaches him, then sniffs him before lovingly caressing him. Finally, Stan says that of course he didn't. He simply asks him to find out who did by noon tomorrow. The 2 men go downstairs, leaving the father terrified. Léon watches the exchange from a hole within his apartment door. The following day, the girl Mathilda passes by Léon in the hallway again. Léon hands her a napkin because her nose was bleeding from when her sister hit her that morning. When Mathilda asks Léon if life was always that hard, Léon says it is. Mathilda then offers to buy Léon milk when she goes to the grocery store. Meanwhile, at Mathilda's apartment, Stan and his men return with more people and guns. They bust open the apartment door and kill Mathilda's family. When Mathilda returns, she finds her father dead on the floor with one of Stan's men by the door. She tries to keep calm and walks further towards Léon's door. Having seen everything that happened, Léon lets her in. Back in her apartment, one of Stan's men, Mackie, notices their family photo and when he realizes that there are 3 kids, he immediately orders the men to search for Mathilda. But when Stan and his goons find the missing drugs, they leave the apartment. Mathilda, now under the care of Léon, finds out that he is a hitman. She tries to convince him to kill her family's murderers but Léon refuses. Instead, Mathilda suggests that he should teach her how to be a hitman. He tries to decline at first, but Mathilda insists that he made her his responsibility by saving her life. With that, Léon moves to a hotel to keep her safe and he finally agrees to teach her the basics. Later on, Léon and Mathilda go to a building rooftop to learn how to use the rifle. He explains that beginners start with the rifle because it's the weapon where you'd be farthest from the client. Léon shows Mathilda how to use the gun and gives her a couple of pointers to remember. They first practice by hitting people at the park with a paint gun. He lets her choose any target but reminds her no women, no kids. Mathilda sets her sight on a man with a bright tracksuit, then takes her shot. It hits the man on the stomach and the 7 men around him react immediately, covering him with their guns out. Surprised that Mathilda chose a bigwig by accident, Léon decides that it's enough practice for today. Time passes with Léon and Mathilda growing accustomed to living together. Léon trains Mathilda daily while she helps out with daily chores. One day Mathilda complains that all they do is train, so she dresses up and impersonates a few celebrities which Léon has to guess. As their bond grows, Léon starts feeling parental towards Mathilda. Later, Léon meets with his friend and employer, Tony, to ask for the money he's been holding for him. Since Léon couldn't read before, he let Tony handle his money without questioning him. But things have changed now and Léon wants some of his money to help Mathilda out. Tony promises to give him his earnings later, then proceeds to tell him about a new job. Back at the hotel, Mathilda tells Léon she might be falling in love with him. Léon waves it off and leaves to do his job. Meanwhile, Mathilda decides to go out as well. She goes to the lobby, then gives the receptionist a dull greeting. When the receptionist mistakes Léon for her father, Mathilda decides to slyly drop a bomb on him, saying that Léon isn't her father, he's her lover. She then abruptly leaves. Mathilda goes back to her old home where her family was killed. She takes some of her things and a hefty wad of cash hidden beneath the floorboards. Just then, Stan shows up along with a few other police officers. Mathilda hides and listens to Stan make up a story about what happened there. She hails a cab to tail Stan to the DEA office, where she discovers that Stan is a corrupt cop. Later in their hotel room, Léon drops in and presents Mathilda with a gift. He bought her a dress, but Mathilda ignores him. Just then, the receptionist, along with other hotel staff, knocks on Léon's door. Because of what Mathilda told him, the hotel receptionist kicks them both out, forcing them to change their lodgings again. Léon is mad at Mathilda now, but she only takes out her 20 grand, then gives him Stan's name and location. Léon refuses and tries to convince Mathilda to let go of her vendetta, but she says that she couldn't do that, not after what they did to her family. At a restaurant, Léon introduces Mathilda to Tony and tells him that she is his new partner. Tony is weirded out at first but decides to go along with it. He assigns a new job to Léon, and this time, it's a job for him and Mathilda to do together. Their target is just one man in a lone apartment. The two arrive at the man's front door and Léon uses a piece of gum to cover the peeping hole. He then shows Mathilda how to locate the chain before telling her to convince the man to come out. The moment the door opens, Léon cuts the chain and breaks in. He inserts his gun's barrel into the man's mouth and tells him that if it leaves his mouth, he shoots. While Léon takes care of the man, Mathilda spots a bunch of drugs sitting on a table. Léon directs the man against a window, then tells Mathilda to get her gun out and assemble it, letting her shoot him with a paintball. The man is left terrified and confused as he watches Léon teaching the child. Léon then tells Mathilda that she has to make 2 shots, the first to disorient the person and the second to kill. He tells her to put the gun away as he shoots the man dead himself. With their first job done, the two celebrate and go for dinner at a restaurant. Léon and Mathilda continue to do several more jobs together using the same trick with the gum. In one such job, their client anticipated their trick and began spraying a machine gun at the front door. Fortunately, Léon reacts just in time to move Mathilda away from the rain of bullets. He then shows Mathilda the ring trick. Léon takes out a grenade and throws it inside, killing the man with the machine gun. What's left of the grenade was a pin in the shape of a ring. With how fleeting Léon's dangerous life is, he later tells Tony to give Mathilda his money should anything ever happen to him. He goes back to the apartment to get his gear, then leaves to do a job, telling Mathilda that he needs time alone. Mathilda goes out on her own and stalks Stan back in the DEA office. She manages to slip inside and follow him into a bathroom. Mathilda inspects the area, only to find that she's alone. Suddenly, the bathroom door closes and Stan appears from behind the door. He intimidates Mathilda, trying to figure out who she's working for, then realizes that she has a vendetta against him. He maliciously tells her that he takes no joy in taking life from those who don't want to live. Stan asks her if she wants to live, and when Mathilda says that she does, Stan poises to kill her. Before he could, one of his men enters and reports that Mackie is dead. Mackie was making a deal with some Chinese drug dealers when a professional killer suddenly moved in and took everyone out. But before he did, the killer said no women, no kids. Mathilda instantly identifies the killer as Léon, who seemed to have changed his mind and decided to get rid of the people who killed Mathilda's family. When Stan hears this, he leaves and orders his men to take Mathilda to his office. Meanwhile, Léon returns to their hotel room only to find Mathilda gone with a note saying she left to kill Stan in the DEA office. Léon rushes out to go after her. At the office, Mathilda is being guarded by two of Stan's men. They inspect her things and find several firearms and even some pizza. Just then, Léon barges in and immediately shoots the two guards down. With Mathilda freed, the two quickly return to their hotel room. Mathilda tries to seduce Léon, wearing the dress that he gave her, but Léon, of course, doesn't fall for it. Knowing it might offend her if he told her she's too young, he ends up telling his story instead. He fell in love a long time ago when he was young. The girl's father wanted to keep them apart, but his daughter snuck out to meet with Léon, anyway. One night, the father shot his own daughter and got jail time for 2 days. On the third day, the father got out and Léon waited for him to kill him. After committing the crime, Léon went on a boat to the States to meet with his own father, who was working with Tony. After finishing his story, Léon explains that he wouldn't be a good lover for her. Finally, Mathilda lets it go on the condition that Léon sleeps on the bed with her, since he's always sleeping on a chair. The following day, Léon wakes up alarmed. He isn't used to letting his guard down, after all. Mathilda calms him down, then gets ready to leave for groceries. Before she goes, Léon asks her about their door code, to which Mathilda answers with 2 knocks, 1 knock, then 2 again. With Mathilda gone, Léon stays in bed, beginning to relax and enjoy himself, for once. After shopping, Mathilda makes her way back to the hotel, only to be taken by several SWAT team members. They're armed to the teeth, and with every intention of sending Léon to his death, they ask Mathilda if Léon is alone. They then ask her if she has the keys to their door, and if they have a secret code. Despite how dire the situation is, Mathilda manages to show them the wrong code to give Léon a warning. Once there, the cops break the door down to move inside the hotel room. Léon has propped himself up the ceiling, then shut the door, trapping and killing several men without ever being seen. Afterward, the SWAT team sends in another handful of men and Léon successfully ambushes them. He hangs from above, shooting down the men in the hallway until Léon eventually gets hit on the shoulder. With at least a dozen men dead, Stan calls in everyone in the force. The remaining SWAT members are hiding in the corner and they peek over to check for their target. Léon manages to take one of them hostage, then starts demanding to get Mathilda back. When Léon gets Mathilda back, they retreat to their hotel room, but not without shooting the water pipe above the ceiling, obscuring the men's vision. Léon leaves the SWAT hostage by the door, underneath the cover of the gushing water. When the door closes, the SWAT members rain down bullets on the door, even killing one of their own men. Léon and Mathilda take cover from the snipers at the window, then make their way into the bathroom. Léon uses an axe to break open a hole in a ventilator shaft, then pushes Mathilda in. When Mathilda realizes that Léon won't fit, she grows frantic. She cries about not wanting to leave without him, about not wanting to lose him. Léon holds Mathilda close, cupping her cheeks and embracing her. He tells her that he wants to live and promises her that when all this is over, he'll leave with her and it'll be just the two of them. Léon tells Mathilda that he loves her, and she says that she loves him, too. Calmer now, Mathilda proceeds down the ventilator. Knowing that he might never see Mathilda again, Léon lets out a scream. At that moment, the SWAT team shoots a missile into Léon's apartment. After the smoke had cleared out, the SWAT team enters the apartment. Suddenly, Léon is dressed in SWAT uniform and raises his hand, pretending to be one of them. The men call out to help Léon and carry him out of the building. There were over 200 SWAT members between the apartment and the building exit. Léon sits down for a bit and lets the medical team examine him. Once the medic left, Léon makes his escape. Stan catches sight of him leaving, so he immediately follows. Now outside the building, Léon finds an underpass to slip into, but before he could truly escape, Stan shoots him from the back. Knowing he won't live through this, Léon pulls the ring trick. He hands Stan the ring from the grenade pin and tells him that it's from Mathilda. He then opens up Léon's vest and finds half a dozen grenades. The explosion kills both Léon and Stan. Later on, Mathilda goes to take Léon's money from Tony. Despite his promise, Tony refuses, claiming that Mathilda's too young for that amount of money. He refuses to give her a job, too. With just a couple $1,000s to her name, Mathilda leaves and returns to her former school. The headmistress speaks with Mathilda and tells her she'll do her best to help her. Mathilda goes out to the boarding school's yard and plants Léon's beloved plant underneath a large tree. "I think we'll be okay here, Léon," she says to herself. Subscribe to watch more videos like this. Turn on notifications. And leave a like, it really helps the channel out. Thank you for watching.